Hello,
Hello,
are we live? We're
hello.
live.
We're going live tonight. Hello, I'm Sarah.
And I'm David. Let's talk about Big Brother Canada 8, whatever there is to talk about
Yeah,
here.
there's a little bit left. Feels like it's over, but also not over.
Yes.
Confusing times. Confusing
But
times
we've got to
we're
talk
in.
about, this is our first season on Big Brother
Yes,
Canada. There was so much hype. The drama, the gameplay in Canada is next level. Like, you guys got to get in on this. And so we were all excited. And truly, this is a season unlike anything I've ever seen, but I think for all the wrong reasons. And, we just kind of still want to see this through and recap the most recent 2 episodes a little bit, talk
yes.
about what's coming up next week, and just kind of finish this season out properly and not just give
Yeah,
up on it.
because we're not quitters, David.
Yeah, that's right.
We see things through.
Unlike some other people.
Certain people. Okay, but first,
yes.
if you're new to this channel, please click subscribe and give this video a thumbs up.
And if you want to support us on Patreon, there's a link in the description. Okay, so we're going to start with Sunday's episode, right?
Yeah, we're going to sort of touch on Sunday and Wednesday's episode, basically wrapping up this season. The highlights of Sunday's episode is that we do finish out this HOH comp. We're seeing them in sleeping bags, hanging, kind of dropping like flies pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, all the females are out because we don't have upper body strength.
Well, you do, just not as much as a lot of these guys on the show. I don't have a whole lot of upper body strength either. I definitely would have been no match for Sheldon and Chris, who are the final two, hanging on for dear life, negotiating with each other for who's going to get this HOH like 10 minutes at a time, as if I could hang my whole body from a bar for 10 minutes, period. And they're like 10 more minutes, 10 more minutes, 10 more minutes.
Yeah. Chris looked like he was struggling for most of this time, but he wants so badly to just be known as the comp beast. And Sheldon, at this point, he changes his mind. But at this point, he's like, I got to take this HOH again. I just got screwed out of this HOH. I ended up having 3 people that I nominated that are still in the house. I understand that thought at the time. So he's like, I got to get it again and put those people up again and kind of just do the same thing to get somebody out and not give them time to come after him.
Right.
So it comes down to the 2 of them, and Sheldon's like, I'm not dropping, like, I'm taking this, give it to me. And Chris is like, 10 more minutes. And it's like, oh my gosh, what does that even mean, 10 more minutes?
Right.
But I guess he had to really mentally, he had to transform his own brain to allow him to not win the comp, I guess, is what we
Because he's not a quitter.
Not a quitter. The theme of this live stream.
Yeah, right. So, but he actually is kind of a quitter because they do end up making a deal, right? He and Sheldon.
He does. Well, yeah, Chris is like, final two. I think he was like really trying to beef up this deal, but Sheldon's just like, yeah, drop. So he's like, I'll give it to you. He makes it very clear. I'll give it to you. And he drops, and Sheldon is HOH for what turns out to be another wasted week.
Right. Yeah. So you go.
It doesn't take long for us to see Carol ruining this entire week. She comes into the room while Sheldon, Brooke, and Chris are talking, and she's like, let me let you know.
She's got a pitch. Yeah.
I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to play this game. So put me up, and I'll just have the house vote me out. Easy peasy. Done, right? Except that they're like, no. This is not the time. We need men out. Like, we can't keep men in the house.
No, and I'm sure Sheldon is thinking like, this is not happening to me again for a second week in a row. Like, stop hijacking my HOHs and making this. I want what I want to happen, Yeah. So they're kind of telling her like, listen, Carol, if you self-evict, like, whatever, that's none of our business. But like, you can self-evict next week. We really have to get men out this week. We cannot put you up and vote you out this week. Sorry.
Right. Like, it's just, when you actually want to play the game, it's a little annoying when someone's like, hey, don't play the game.
Yes.
Let's do it this way. She does end up calling an entire house meeting just to make it very clear that she's not happy. She doesn't want to be there. This isn't working for her and she needs to go. But that
she's emotional.
She wants to leave with her head held high. Basically, she's saying, if I self-evict, you know, I lose out on some money and I look like a quitter, but you guys can sort of pad it for me and make it look better.
Right. And she's saying like, it's okay when you hit rock bottom to reach out for help. And I'm telling you that I need your help. Like, I need you to send me out of here. And I'm sure the producers are in her ear and they are like, Carol, there is no way you're self-evicting. Okay.
No.
This season has been a disaster already. So we cannot have one more self-eviction. But if you can twist it and convince them to vote you out and make it a game move, okay, fine, we can deal with that. But like, you are not self-evicting. Like, they are in her ear about it. And I think that's also what's stressing her out and making her so emotional in this house meeting, because she's like, this is my only hope is to get them to agree to vote me out. So she's really like laying it on thick with the emotion and like, I need this. You are all my friends now. Please help your friend. It's like that kind of message that she's sending to them.
Yeah. And it was interesting because we did see like side conversations that people were having with her. And she has some skills of manipulation, this Carol. She was like, can't promise I'm not going to self-evict. You know, I would really hate to be forced to self-evict. Like language like that, where I'm just like, well, honey, if you had these manipulation skills, why don't you actually play the game with them?
Yeah.
Like, those are actually useful in this house.
Right.
But no.
Also, like, there's a way of backstabbing people and blowing up people's games and making yourself a target. You don't have to just plead with people to vote you out for no reason. Give them a reason to vote you out. Blow up alliances and relationships. Like, if you want to get out of the house, there are multiple ways that you can do it. And it doesn't just have to be like getting on your knees and begging for people to vote you out. That's
so true. Like, honestly, entertainment level, that's the way you do it. Blow up the game. Like, have some fun. And then they'll vote you out. But yeah, unfortunately, everyone is starting to feel very sort of like their hand is forced. The HOH has been hijacked. Sheldon is regretting that he took this HOH. Why did he fight for it? For it just for this to happen? But we ultimately do see that he does sort of give in, feeling like he has no options. He has to give in and put Carol on the block, but he also does put Min on the block, who honestly is his target.
Right.
And then also, I just have to, we did skip over that he got this, like in the HOH, you got the red light, this thing lifts up and he has a necklace, and it gives him the option to choose between two different powers. One to take away a vote this week, or one to play in the veto, which is so fun, except he's like, for this week, really?
No, I know. Yeah. And I think he's also like, I've got too much going on. Like, I now have 2 back-to-back HOHs. I don't need to like play in another comp. He's talking about the veto and like show them how good I am again, you know? So he's just like, I don't really need this advantage this week. But we do see like a conversation between he and Min, because he still is kind of targeting Min, you know, like he wants her out of the house and definitely wants her on the block as like a backup if the Carol thing like resolves itself over the course of the week. And he's telling Min, like, you know, you're like a cockroach in this game. And she's like, well, I prefer like a cat with 9 lives. And he's like, no, you're a roach.
This is part of why I love Sheldon, which I don't know that I would love him in real life, but in the house, he's just so, I mean, can you ever imagine calling someone a cockroach? It's so insulting, but he said it like 8 times.
Yes, he's so unapologetic about it, and he's doing it to mess with her.
He's like, yeah, you can't get out, you can't die, you can't get kicked out, like you're a cockroach. And she's like Min has so many good comebacks, but like to him, she just can't. She's like, no. I don't know what to say to you.
Yes.
I kind of love it. Okay, let's move on to Wednesday's episode.
Right. So we, you know, again, we get a message from Marissa from her home saying this was recorded, you know, before now it's recorded before we shut down the show, not just like before we knew about Corona, you know. So she gives us a little message, but it's very strange to watch these episodes now, knowing that it's done. You know,
Yeah.
production has been shut down and we know that. But, you know, out of, I think, respect to the crew and the people in the house, they have put in the work. This stuff has already been shot and edited. Like, let's just air it and enjoy this for the hour of television that it is, knowing that it's not going anywhere. But
I know that's what's so annoying and weird and frustrating is being like, oh, but it doesn't. Oh, okay.
Right. I know, because like we'll get to it at the end, but I really was starting to like get into the groove of this season. But obviously, you know, we've got Carol and Min on the block now at the beginning of this episode. And Sheldon is like, I really just wish that Carol would self-evict. And other people in the house are all kind of like, Carol's, you know, talking to them, emotional, and people like Rianne are like, I can't really relate to what you're going through right now. Like, I came here to play, like not to get up.
Honestly, the only person who's really on board with this is Min. She's like, we got Carol's wishes, you guys. Carol's wishes.
Right.
Gotta do it.
It's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing. But everyone else is like, let's play the game. If she wants to go, then self-evict. Like, that's on you. It's not our job to like make this comfy for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The highlight though here is the veto comp, right? Let's get to the veto comp.
Right. And like I said, you know, Sheldon decides not to use his advantage to play. And so it's just the 5 people who are playing it. And who are those people?
Carol and Min, the nominees, and then they choose Kira, Chris, and Vanessa.
Right.
They get to play. JL is going to host. And we do sort of see set up that like Min obviously would love to win, take herself down just to be double, you know, safe, cautious, like just in case something changes. She feels fairly safe, but like, let's win it and take ourselves off, obviously.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And we do see a little moment where Kira, Sue, and Chris joke about like, let's win and take Carol down.
Right.
And I'm like, yes, do that. I wish one of them would have actually been up for that, but I think they were just being.
I mean, they're trying to be good people, but I'm like, that's great. And I would have the same kind of instinct. Like, I'm not going to waste an eviction on someone who potentially will just self-evict. Like, I'm going to take you off the block, force you to self-evict, because then I get somebody out this week and then I get you out through self-eviction and I'm one step closer to the grand prize, you know, a year's worth of groceries and $100,000. So, you know, see you later, Carol, but I'm going to focus on getting Min out this week. Like, I loved that people's heads were still in the game. And it wasn't, because you remember when it was Celebrity Big Brother in the US and Meta World Peace, like kept wanting them to vote him out. And they really, you know, eventually were like, we're going to do this for you. And that was just not fun to watch. So I loved that like cutthroat instinct of like, no, we're taking her down and forcing her hand to self-evict.
Yes, that was like the most exciting stuff this week was like, are they going to flip the vote? Are they going to, you know, not give her what she wants? Like that actually made the week kind of exciting, but.
Yeah, right. So the veto was, you know, this like crazy balance thing. It's fun to see like all the different comps that Canada does compared to US. Not the US is like overly repetitive, but there are certain comps that you come to expect every year, but it's like all new stuff in Canada, you know? So
it did remind me though, the fact that they had to like carry something over a beam did remind me of just this past when it was the final 3 with Holly, Beth, and Jackson and Nicole, and they had to carry things across a beam. But it was still different. But that was my first instinct was like, oh, like that. But they had to put the cannonballs on a very wobbly platform,
table thing,
which seemed so hard. And we see several people dropping. As soon as one drops, you have to reset everything. And we do see it from Hero. We see it from Chris. We see it from Vanessa. We see it from Chris a few more times.
Yes. It's a lot of like back and forth because it's really hard to keep all these balls balanced. Like Min was in the lead at one point and she falls. You know, we do get moments from Min. Like you said, I think she's like, I got to play to win. And then we get moments from Carol who's like, yeah, she did do well. And then Carol's, you know, in the diary room saying, I'm no quitter. Like, I'm fighting for this, you know, it's beneath me to sit out and just not even try. And I'm like, no, the producers are forcing you to take part in this veto competition and pretend that you're taking it seriously.
Had sat out, I don't know what I would have done. Like, it's already bad enough we're in this situation. But yeah, the audacity that she's like, I'm no quitter. I'm not sitting out. I'm like, yes, like, you are a quitter.
I roll. But like, this is really a game. It's not a competition about strength or speed. It's about finesse. You know what I mean? And it's about like really being careful with the balance of this table, and it's slow and steady, you know?
Yeah.
And Kira wins, and he just is the veto king this season. And this is another reason that I'm so bummed that everything's shut down, because he was like emerging as this sort of unlikely force in veto competitions and potentially HOHs down the road.
I know. I had mixed feelings when the feeds came back over the weekend and I saw that Hera won. I was like, oh, like, this is one you don't have to win.
You should be careful.
Is he pulling a Sam last summer when Sam was like, I want to win all the vetoes? And then they're like, well, obviously we're going to get Sam out because he can win all the vetoes. Right. So I was worried about that. But then kind of seeing how it played out, on one hand, you kind of want someone to win who's not going to change the knobs, right? It's almost like not letting men win is basically what it is. You have to sort of defend the veto. So I didn't hate that he won this one. Yeah. But super sad that we don't get to see more of him winning.
Right. After the veto competition, we see a little bit more strategy with the Carol situation. We see Sue go and pitch Brooke and Sheldon on evicting men and then, you know, forcing Carol to self-evict. This is coming out of that conversation that she had with Chris and Hera. And Brooke is like, this is too much social damage. Like, we are all good guys. Everybody likes us. And if we do this, we've got a lot of damage control to do. And Sheldon kind of acknowledges like, yeah, you're right. As much as I would love to make this move and not have my HOH hijacked again, I think you're right. This is too risky of a move.
Yeah. Right before the feeds went down for good, this really was like, Sue was on a mission. Like, she was working to flip this vote. Her first mistake was going to Carol, though. She felt like she had to have Carol's permission to flip this vote. And I was like, Sue,
you don't
do it behind Carol's back. Like, we don't care. This is not Carol, Big Brother Carol. This is Big Brother Canada. And like, it's just not all to her. Like, she's the godfather or something. I was so annoyed with that, but she was still working on it. Like, in reality, her and men they were going after each other. I think it was because, I think Men was really going after Sue because Sue was very much going after Men, but the two of them were targeting each other. So it would be in Sue's best interest to flip this vote and get Men out. It really was dangerous to keep her in.
Right. Yeah, I agree. But that was
Brooke was being smart, and I just hated it because Brooke was being smart.
I know. She was being like very reasoned and like, you know, she probably was like, that's like not a bad idea, but it is a bad idea for XYZ, you know, like she probably wanted to make the big move, but realized like there was too much risk behind it. And like, let's just move forward with getting Carol out.
Yeah.
So after that,
we get another
the COVID update from the executive producer. And they're just kind of like, I'm not sure. Do you know like at what stage in the game or what date this was? Was it March 21st, they said on the show? Maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense because it was like Sunday-ish.
Yeah, so it was like 4 days ago, and they're just like sort of like rattling off statistics about like deaths worldwide, deaths in Canada, a number of cases in Canada.
Yeah.
We're closing the Canada-US border. You know, they're very shocked at that. And then like someone's like, oh, are they still playing sports? And the executive producer says no. And like Chris is just like in shock that the sporting events would be canceled. You know, like they're realizing, oh, the world is shutting down around us and we're like locked away in this house. This is so weird. But they also kind of feel fortunate to be in the house and kind of safe in a weird way. It's an interesting segment.
It is. I mean, it's fascinating to hear the executive producer kind of list it all, because I mean, we've all been living through this over sort of a stretched out amount of time, and things happen a little bit every day. But for her to sort of sum it all up, even I was like, oh my God, are we in a movie right now? Like, for her just to sort of put it all into one little monologue, I was like, oh, dang, this is crazy. It is crazy. But yeah, I mean, the fact that all sporting events have shut down, that's never happened. Like this is, that's
It's
huge.
historic for sure. Yeah.
And I
And,
thought that this was leading into what we know. I thought she was about to be like, so now we are shutting down the game, and it's
I
not
did
even.
too. Yeah, but it's not even that. So, there is the update about like all of your families are still safe and healthy. Sue, your family in Italy, they're, quarantined
Yes.
and they're safe, like reassuring the cast of these things. But we're already starting to see people like Sue realize that there's more to life. She's like not really in the game anymore. Chris is trying to like lift her spirits and give her a little bit of a pep talk and, just be there for her. But
honestly, it is such an interesting thing because from the get-go, they went in at a time where they were all healthy. And so they were already quarantined. We then all quarantined ourselves. So they were probably fairly safe. It honestly is the crew and the staff that were having to go to work every day is why this got shut down. I just want to make that clear because I have seen people on the internet be like, but they're quarantined, they're fine. There's a whole bunch of people we don't see who are making this magic happen. And that's really who we were protecting.
Yeah, those are the people who are like more in danger. But, like you said, this is not the end of the episode. We do move forward with the veto ceremony. And like, again, it's just such a bummer that like, this is the moment when everything is over because it's a couple of great speeches. Like Min gets up and is like, I don't need the veto. I'm a cockroach. Like I have heard so many people say that Canadians give these like baller speeches, like really gutsy speeches. And this is one of them, it's just this like unbridled confidence of like, don't use the veto on me, please, because I don't need it. It's a waste. And then Carol gets up and she's like, do not use it on me. Like, please send me home. And, then Hira does not use the veto. And I wanted to find out, like, how is the house going to handle this?
I know. Well, we do know we had a little bit of feeds after this ceremony, and Sue was doing her darndest to flip the vote, but it was looking like so many people wanted to do it. Like people are like, yes, of course we want to vote out men. I love it. Great idea. But just not feeling like they could necessarily. So I do feel like had this week been able to play out, we might have gotten a flip. Like they want it deep down. If they could just all get on the same page and agree and be like, we're all okay. No one's going to like hate us. Like we all agree. Then they would have voted men out. And then we would have probably had Carol be like, I'm self-electing then.
Right. But, this is sort of now the end of the road. We get another, message from Arissa saying like the house guests have left. They are home with their families now. Everybody's safe. We'll have an emotional goodbye next Wednesday. Who knows what that's going to look like? But like ultimately, like as much as we're like, oh man, I wish the season would continue. This is the right move. Like this is the right move for the safety of the crew. Like I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression. Like this is correct to shut down the production of this, but it's just a bummer regardless,
Exactly. And I wonder what this emotional episode is going to be. I mean, I'm just picturing again, house guests gather. They all sit on the couches. Erin comes back over again and she's like, so we have been shut down for the safety of everybody.
Right.
And then they pack, walk to the door dramatically. Like what?
Right. I don't know how this is going to work. Are they just going to like shut down all the lights slowly in the house, like with dramatic music or something? Like, I don't know.
What I would really love is that they at least do one more vote. I would really love for them to be like, look, game is done.
Okay. For old time's sake, one more vote.
Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to vote. And then you guys are all going to go. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're going to vote. You're going to evict somebody. And then you're going to vote for a winner. And then they walk out. I don't know. There's no way that's going to happen.
No, I mean, there's no winner of this season. Like we all lose, but
we all lose.
I just, I'm interested to see how the finale is going to go. But, it's too bad that it had to end like this. But again, it's
it
for
is.
the best.
It's such a bummer. It's such a bummer. I really honestly loved this cast. I know that it looks like this was just a hot mess of a season. It definitely had its stumbles, but there were so many people who had potential. Like you were just talking about Hera. Like I really wanted to see what Hera was going to do. He was starting to see the wheels are turning, like he's getting it.
Right.
I really love this whole like Rianne and Sheldon like thing a brewing.
Yes.
Like they are like kind of working together, but kind of keeping an eye on each other at the same time. Like that was going to come to some sort of something at some point. You know what I mean?
And then there were people like Angie who seemed like super fun, big personalities that we just didn't get to see anything from all season. Like she was kind of playing an under the radar lay low game and didn't even get to do anything, So I was like, I want to see more from Angie. I wonder if we'll see any of these players return for another season in the future.
Oh, I sure hope so. I know a lot of people complained about Angie on the feeds because she was laying so very low, but I think she was still keeping her eye on what was going on. So I loved her. I still loved her. Sue was messy enough. Vanessa was super messy. I mean, if men left, everyone would realize how messy Vanessa actually was.
Yeah.
There was still so much fun for us to have that this is quite the shame.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope that many of them get to come back.
I think that'd be great.
It would stink if they brought back like half of them and then like a bunch of new people next year.
Right.
Because then these people would gang together and then they'd all be like, we got to get them out.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it's like, bring a bunch of them back, that's like never works out.
Right. Yeah. Unless you bring a handful of them back with other alums and it's like kind of an all-star season kind of thing or something like that.
That's true. Bring them back with all the people who went out like first boots.
Yeah.
And let's do a redemption season. Yeah.
Right.
Bring them to the U.S.
Yes.
Bring them with all the options. First boots of U.S.
Once the borders open,
I'm down for all of it. You know what, David? The border's going to open again.
It is.
We're going to be able to travel again.
Yes.
You and I will be able to be in the same room again.
Oh my God. I hope. I really do miss. Like, this is still fun. I'm so glad that we're still doing this and like keeping up with this stuff because like I'm still watching. I got time.
Right?
What else is there to do than watch TV and talk about it right now? But I do miss just like sitting right next to you, Yeah.
I know it's not quite the same. Quite the same, but we're all making sacrifices.
Yes.
We all have to try to just do the best that we can right now.
That's right. And the best that we can do is keep going on Survivor 40, which we will be doing. So not give up on that.
No, this season is like just bringing the gold every single week.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. So we will be back on Monday with a Survivor live stream to talk about, we've already discovered some things since we streamed last night. So we will talk about those on Monday. And Lady Di says we're better than CNN, and I'll take it.
I will accept that. Different, definitely different.
Much news.
Yeah, right. I will accept better as well.
But we'll take it. Yes. Thank you guys for hanging out with us in the chat. Thank you, mods, and everyone have a wonderful, safe, and healthy evening. And we'll see you on Monday.
All right. We'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. See you soon. See you on Monday.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.